Hello and welcome to A Wider World, the show on abilities. I'm your host, Elizabeth Kelly. One of the things we like to do at A Wider World is tell you about cutting-edge, evidence-based therapies that are making a difference in people's lives. Today, I am so excited to tell you about an amazing therapy for people with schizophrenia that, when added to medication and traditional therapies, has actually improved the service recipient's brain health. Check out what's new at Easter Seals, Michigan. Meet Heather Brock.
I am 44 years old. I have a 21-year-old daughter. I live in Lathrop Village. I am adopted. My parents are Virginia and Frank Brock. They're foster parents. They stopped at 99 foster children. They have adopted 8 of us. We all have learning disabilities or some sort of disability. I also have depression and bipolar. I also have a seizure disorder.
Heather is a very engaging young woman who loves horses and her family. But life was not always easy for Heather.
I've gone through a very rough patch in my life. I was in a very abusive relationship. I've been robbed twice. I've also have attempted suicide a few times in my younger days. I've also, I think it was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I tried to commit suicide again. That's one reason I'm here at Easter Seals now.
Easter Seals, Michigan provides mental health services to adults, children, and families. Program participants undergo an extensive assessment and evaluation to determine the most effective approach to improve individuals' mental health and wellness. They felt that Heather would benefit from a new intensive therapy called CET, which showed promise in the clinical studies. But this therapy would require Heather to commit to computer and group therapy sessions each week for 1 year. With more than a little trepidation, Heather agreed.
So we have therapy, case management, medication management, which is part of your traditional services in a continuum of care. What this will do is add a little bit more, it's an adjunct to it, with the group therapy focusing on the rehabilitative part of interaction. They do work, and then the actual computer-based, they actually sit in front of a computer and do exercises.
First of all, CET stands for Cognitive Enhancement Therapy. It's an evidence-based practice, which means that there is a lot of research to support that it actually works and that it actually produces outcomes. And it's very different from the typical or some of the more standard traditional therapies, which are more maybe skills building or how do you feel about that. This is not a feeling kind of behavioral therapy. It's based on thinking. So it's all about creating different ways to think, creating and providing different problems that people have to think through differently than they normally do. CET is based on the concept of neuroplasticity, which says that the brain is able to grow and repair itself. We used to think way back when that that's all you had, and when that was gone, that's gone. That's not the case.
I think what sold us on it was the technology behind the science of it. What we're seeing with at least in the mental health field, is that medicine and therapy has been the traditional treatment options, but what's kind of coming into play now in the future or presently is really more science behind brain health and how the brain can adapt with different technology to help rehabilitate it.
So how does CET work?
It is a combination of computer-based modules plus regular traditional group therapy.
The brain can create neural pathways and create gray matter by being presented with different challenges. So that's what we seek to do with CET.
They end up looking at individuals that have schizophrenia and providing a treatment modality to help with not only the primary symptoms or the positive symptoms of schizophrenia, but really the focus is on the negative aspects of having the disorder, such as the way that they interact with others.
Most people are familiar with the positive symptoms of schizophrenia, such as hallucinations, confused speech, and paranoia. But the negative symptoms of schizophrenia are much more subtle and often are mistaken for depression. They include flat affect, which means a person's face does not move or he or she talks in a dull or monotonous voice, a lack of pleasure in everyday life, the lack of ability to begin and sustain planned activities, speaking little, even when forced to interact, and people with negative symptoms need help with everyday tasks. They often neglect basic personal hygiene. This may make them seem lazy or unwilling to help themselves, but the problems are symptoms caused by the schizophrenia.
The research shows that for younger schizophrenics, already early, like late teens, early 20s, we start to see atrophy or underdevelopment of the prefrontal cortex, which is that higher learning. So that's the area that deals with attention, concentration, judgment, working memory, ability to make social judgments. So the concept behind CET is that we provide experiences and activities that help create those neural pathways in the brain that in turn allow the group members to apply that to social settings. And what you're going to do, it's a maze and it starts in the middle and you have to pick a side. So there's two parts of CET. It is a year-long group, a 48-week closed group. So we did 2 groups concurrently, 12 in each group, and it's a weekly group. The groups consist of an hour-long computer class, which is such a huge novelty. It can be hugely intimidating for some of our folks because I don't know how to do anything with computers, but they find they can. And it's very supportive, and just doing that has boosted confidence hugely. But the first hour of the CET group, weekly group, is the computer exercises, and there's all kinds of computer exercises. I don't know if you've heard some of the things, the exercises. There's one called Trail Trace. And it's a maze, and you have to make decisions about how to get through the maze. If you mess up, you start over. So there's decisions about which way to go. You have to remember which way you did it before. You have to hold all of that in your memory and approach the task again. This was hard for everybody.
From there on, I started the program and I loved it. I was kind of scared at first, and nervous, but other than that, I couldn't wait to join. CET is a year program, and the first hour and a half is computers, and then the second the second part of it is the homework. And the computer, the first hour of the computer work is very intense. You get into different kinds of programs. Like the first one we did was Mind Test, where there would be colored sequence. There would be a noise, and once that noise was done, you'd have a purple light, and the minute that light hit, you have to hit the space bar. And it was a time reaction. So we'd have to do that. And that would tell you, I don't know what it was called, how many seconds it took for your brain to react to that.
Everyone's symptoms are different. You could have 20 people with the same diagnosis. It's not going to look the same. So how they use the tools is going to look different for them as well.
Now that we have a graduating class, I think utilizing peers in a way that have gone through lived experience, being able to share that and helping to recruit other individuals, I think says a lot. I think if you utilize peers in that way, or individuals that have gone through the life experience or treatment experience and see the other side of it, may be able to help others who might not have that hope or have that thought process that it's, where their life is. And they could explain it a little bit different than maybe a professional could.
So how did Easter Seals Michigan decide to include CET in their mental health programming?
Partly it was, I think, the nagging of Ray Gonzalez to actually get us to do it. He had, which was wonderful. And I use the term nagging in a very friendly way. He had reached out to our CEO, Brentworth, quite a bit via multiple phone calls, media, email, introducing what he was trying to do. We actually saw a presentation at one of the board association conferences, and thought, well, that's really neat. I think there's a lot of merit to this, and we initiated a phone call with him. Entered into a year-long, and then now we're starting a second year contract with him. Staff had gone through massive training, so we made a big commitment to this model, knowing that we were going to get good results.
As a professional looking at new and exciting ways to have an impact, I think the more we learn, it's the whole mind-body interface, brain health, neuropsychology, huge advances in those fields that we need to be on the forefront of seeing, okay, that's hugely cool and interesting, but what do we do with that here at Easter Seals and beyond to make sure that we're using that information in the best way possible? And then I think just for consumers, from a consumer perspective, that they know, we know that there are things out there. As we learn, as we grow, there are always more opportunities to improve and to get better, and more things that you can avail yourself of in your effort to be in the community and be a whole person in the community.
I love Easter Seals. I love what it's done for me. It's given my life back.
For more information about cognitive enhancement therapy, go to the program page at easterseals.com/Michigan. Our kudos to Easter Seals Michigan for the great work that they're doing on brain health.